Ag in Motion, it's a show that showcases agriculture, innovation, and technology. The design of this show is an outdoor kind of an event. We have 320 acres located on Highway 16, just outside of the town of Langham. And we really focus on demonstrations of equipment and crop technology.
So for prepping for Ag in Motion, we have a lot of people. We get together and what varieties do we want in here? Cantera has a lot of varieties. We can't physically fit them all here, right? So we have to pick the ones that we think that we want to showcase the most. We have to think about rotations. We have to think about what crop types we want, who's our audience, all of that. So yeah, it takes a lot of work, a lot of time, but I think it's totally worth it. Cantera Seeds is a seed company based in Western Canada. I work with the seed growers, so they're the ones actually growing the crops, as well as I get to talk to the customers, as well as my parents' farm. So I'm a farm girl from way back, so I get to hear about that and see what's working for people, what's not. And the fact that I cover all Saskatchewan, I'm in lots of different places and everything's different, right? Geographically, in the south right now, it's super, super dry. So totally different story than somewhere like Norquay or Tisdale or Carrot River where it's wet. So when you grow, for example, a wheat variety, it starts out as breeder seed. From companies like Ag Canada, the Crop Development Centre, Lima Grain Cereals Research Canada. Seed growers grow the breeder seed plots, which are just small little 2.5 acre plots, and then it goes into select seed, foundation seed, registered seed, and then eventually it's certified seed. All the farmers get to grow their food from that.
Well, farmers are stewards of the land, and I think, you know, when you really look at how a true farmer works, his goal is to deliver food that's clean and safe to people. They're also environmentalists. They use the land to grow that food. So they don't want to destroy the land, they don't want to pollute the land, they need it as healthy as possible. We have equipment here that is used for the whole circle of creating that grain so that we can take it to the consumer in as safe and as clean as possible.
So Saskatchewan pulse growers have several different areas that they work into in order to promote pulses. So there's breeding and genetics, there's research, so the research covers quite a few different areas. There's agronomy, there's the breeding of new varieties, there's health and nutrition aspects of pulses, so doing a lot of research on how does it affect our health and well-being. So the way that SaskPulse works is that we collect the levy that farmers pay when they deliver their pulses to the elevator. They pay a 0.67% levy. We get that money and we use it towards funding all of the research projects, towards the breeding program that's with the Crop Development Centre at the University of Saskatchewan. It's also used for things like market access and transportation issues and developing markets overseas and any issues related to market access. Pulse crops are fantastic in your crop rotation. They have the unique advantage of being able to fix nitrogen, whereas other crops you have to be able to supply all the nitrogen the crop needs. So it's very expensive to be putting in a lot of fertilizer, and there's nothing left behind. You know, once the crop is harvested, then for the next year you'd have to add more nitrogen again. However, pulses actually fix their own nitrogen and they leave some of that in the soil. So the next year you have a yield boost in your wheat or canola or whatever you grow afterwards because the previous crop has left some nitrogen in the soil. So it's a huge advantage.
There's lots of science that allows us to do things better, grow food better, whether that's identify better genes to help us grow more crop per acre, more food per acre. We have the U of S here in Saskatoon, which is a world leader in plant genetics and understanding genes. And we have people that come to the show from around the world who talk about identifying different genes in plants to make them better for our environment.
I'm the CEO of an Israeli-based company called Plant Arc Bio. What we actually do is that we developed a platform that can quite efficiently discover or identify genes. We take very interesting gene pools from nature, from interesting places like the Dead Sea, for example, and we have a method of taking these genes and putting them back in plants And so we can do a very big screening for interesting improvements, such as, for example, we do drought-resistant plants now. It's been great. I really appreciate Srida for inviting us. It's been both educational and nice experience to come here. So you have a beautiful country.
When it comes to livestock, we understand livestock handling better now than ever. And we want to make sure those animals are safe and good for us to take to the plate. There's a great demand for food that we can trace and we can trust. And that's what our farmers here do, and that's the technology that's on display at Ag in Motion.
When you're pretty good at something, you do more working than you do talking. The people that taught you how to work stock, how did you learn from them? Did they have a detailed explanation of how to do things? Or when you're in the gate at the wrong time, they said, please get out of the gate?
I travel Canada and the US, and I do animal handling seminars, mostly cattle handling. Some are horseback, some are on foot, and just teach the principles of working with livestock in a way that's positive for the cattle, for the handler, and for the industry.
Human can be different than a mountain lion or a grizzly or a coyote or a wolf. A human can think and change their deal. A wolf, he's always a predator. So the human can be a predator, but he doesn't have to.
So pressure is what makes animals work for us. I believe we have three kinds of pressure: a driving pressure, a drawing pressure, and a maintaining pressure. Every animal's different, so the challenge is putting the right pressure on at the right time, at the right moment.
Just like a border collie dog, I just keep going back and forth. My mind goes out to the lead, and then you can see what's shaping up. Like now, right now, this is the lead. That dark red one is the lead. So I'm trying to keep my energy on him and keep these cattle sending him on up there.
When we're working with cows and calves, usually the cow knows how to move and the calf doesn't. And so we have to give the cow time enough to teach her calf to go with her. And if we don't understand that, sometimes we get in a hurry and not thinking about it. And it's very easy to get them upset and stressed, and then they can either go on the fight or on the flight and leave their calf. So I would say working cows and calves and bulls is probably the two most difficult phases of our livestock.
Now we're in the spot where I go up here to the front of the traffic jam. I'll send, I'll just step back, I'll send, step back immediately, and I'll just keep standing. Don't get up there, you guys, you're all right.
The handler can make so much difference in how the health of the animal lasts. And then we have less antibiotic issues. I totally believe in antibiotics if an animal gets sick. I think it's wrong not to treat them if we have the science, but I would really rather keep that animal from ever having to have antibiotics through my care and handling.
These bulls are so nice. They really think their way out of pressure. And to have them come right through here is just that's an incredible thing.
We're living a great time, and I love young people. I see young people coming to these things, and when I think about them and how much knowledge they can have access to and how good they're going to be in 10, 20 years, it's going to be an incredible world. It's a great business we live in. It's very valuable to our world, so I say enjoy it. Enjoy working your stock, enjoy going to the sale barn, enjoy every part of it, and do it for the right reasons, which is you're an animal caregiver first, so it's our duty to take care of that animal to the best of our abilities, and then produce a good product that everybody's happy and proud of.
There is a company here from UK who has developed a new way to identify an animal that's carrying a bacterial infection like tuberculosis. What happens with our test now, if there's an animal in the herd that's identified as a carrier, they euthanize the entire herd to wipe out that disease. Now, in 6 hours, you will know which animal is sick and which one is not, and it's 100% accurate. For livestock producers, it could be as important as the polio vaccine was for human beings.
It's actually applicable to all mycobacterial diseases. So presently, we're aiming at tuberculosis and neones, which is the paratuberculosis in dairy. However, it can be applicable to many other E. coli and salmonella and all this kind of thing, mycobacterial diseases. Today we're aiming at cattle, but it also will apply to a wide array of species. Wild animals, certainly goats, horses, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very, very flexible.
When it comes to the question about drones and satellite and how they're being used in agriculture, there is a bit of a debate right now which is better. They're both very useful, but the satellite images will tell you one thing. It can tell you perhaps the mineral substance or the fertilizer or the nutrition in your soil is, where the moisture is, where a drone, it can actually get closer to the plant. It can tell you, is that plant growing? Does it require more water? I do think over the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see the two probably merge into the same reports so that a farmer can take that and use it in a better way.
So Green Arrow Technology is a very specialized company. We have a great passion for UAVs and drone technology, and all the guys in the company really love different things you can see when you get about 200 feet up in the air. So we started off as a company selling hardware, trying a lot of different things, trying to see actually what was useful to farmers. We had a great customer one time. We were showing him some different testing we had done, and he said, "Guys, this is great, but nothing matters until I get my water under control." So what we do is we actually have a sensor built into the drone, a sensor that sits on the ground. They communicate with each other. So we actually use a process called photogrammetry, and we can map out every single inch of the field multiple times, see the whole picture, and get extremely accurate information in about a half hour. So this is our augmented reality sandbox. How it technically works is it actually works with an Xbox Kinect controller. So it actually throws down an infrared grid onto the sand here. It runs it through a computer program and spits it out on a projector. As you move the sand around, it's actually going to redraw the topographical lines based on what the elevations are in here. So we can move the sand around. You can see as it gets higher and lower, the lines will change here. And what's really fun about it is we can actually, in addition to moving the sand around, we can actually add water as well virtually. So if I put my hand over top here, it actually acts as a rain cloud. You can see some water start to pool into here. We've done a lot of work in actually making systems and information that's really easy to interpret for farmers. They can really easily tell where the water is going to stand, where the natural water flow pathways are in the field. What we find in the technology industry, a lot of times guys will invent this new idea, this cool thing, and they'll try to find a problem to go solve with it. And what we try to do is work the other way. We try to find a problem and find a technology that will solve that problem. So, we're of the opinion that when you have a hammer, sometimes everything looks like a nail. We want to be really focused on what farmers need, what they're looking for, and then go back from that point and try to fix what that problem is and help them, give them something that's, going to help them out on the farm for years to come.
This year at Ag in Motion, what's getting the most excitement is the very first autonomous power platform. So what that means is this is the first true robot tractor. The inventor of the DOT technology is a person who's a 70-year-old farmer from Saskatchewan. He is an engineer, he's an intelligent man, he has a lot of schooling, but he has a lot of practical knowledge that allows him to know in his head if that machine has the capability of doing something in the future that will be beneficial, and I think we're going to see even more coming from that place.
At Seedmaster we build very large drills, and we've made them bigger and bigger and bigger for the bigger farmers. And as we got bigger, I was recognizing the fact that we were getting less and less efficient per foot. And the OpenU platform is a carrier. It's autonomous, so it works by GPS or by remote control. By GPS, it recognizes that you've put it in a specific field, and it has a map of that field and what order to do the seeding or spraying in. And it just follows dot to dot. That's part of the name DOT, is it's always looking for the next dot for its GPS guidance.
Really what we're staring at might be step change rather than game change, because this machine works, well, you sit still.
100 years ago, when tractors were taken over from horses, it took 40, 50 years for that transition to take place. Humans have changed since then. Not too many people here have a flip phone. Flip phones are only a few years old. We wouldn't even think of opening one up. We'd be embarrassed to have it. So I think we're ready for change a lot quicker than we were 100 years ago.
The software that's used to create this system was actually designed to optimize positioning in the field. So if you think about where you'd like to be in a headland, where you'd like to be in a turn, and how you'd like to manage a slough, with DOT, you make those decisions before you go to the field in advance. You've been able to go out there in your side-by-side, map your fields.
My key focus has always been efficiency. So to make these big farms efficient again, We have to go back to sizes that were efficient, and we have to match up implements, multiple implements that match up with big farm sizes. So it's basically so simple. When I first thought of it, I figured we just have to do it. Yeah.
The science portion of agriculture has changed so much in the last 30 years. A farmer's a guy in a lab coat, a guy who understands computers, who can understand a satellite image, and they take that raw data and they transfer it into something to grow better food.
Innovation, you have to trust your gut feelings, first of all. You have to have faith in what knowledge you have, and you have to be not afraid of people making fun of you, because to innovate something you have to step out of the norm.
Farmers are feeding the world. We have to be able to produce enough so that there is no starvation. And I think we're going to hit that goal with this technology. But we also have to have a society that understands that and is open to understand the science and not think that there's a romantic vision that we have to meet, because that romantic vision might not be right. In fact, the food that was created or grown in 1920, 1930, 1940 was full of disease. For instance, if you grew a crop of rye in 1920, you could actually get a disease from that rye. Today, we don't have that issue because farmers understand it. Through science, we've actually eliminated that problem, and we don't even look at crop that has that potential to cause people illness.
We are ag in motion. If we stand still, we're part of history, but if we stay in motion, we're part of the future. Yeah, ag in motion.
If you have program ideas that you'd like to see on maxTV Local On Demand, write us at max.local@sasktel.com.